Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Sorry about that. I do apologize. Audio issue at the start of the show. But we are here, we are live, and we are with you all. Welcome to the Vash Sky ParkCast. My name is Vash Sky, and I'm going to be taking you through a journey of theme parks, of maybe some cinematic disasters in the form of Mandalorian and Grogu. Look, maybe maybe it's a little bit too early to be saying that, but it does not look good. And unfortunately, some of our theme park attractions that we love have been impacted already by the Mandalorian and Grogu. We'll see how the future actually holds up, and we'll also examine what Disney is doing with the update to Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, because we just got our first look into what they are actually doing with that attraction. I think it's really, really interesting, and yes, there is a lot of Mandalorian and Grogu to be had in that. It's very, very interesting stuff indeed. We'll also be examining the new Walt Disney World president. He was just announced like a week ago, maybe? But I've not seen anybody do a really deep dive, well, other than myself last night. If you were catching us over there at Caption Magic's channel with OG55 and Jared himself, we were going over a little bit about the history of this Joe Scott, this new Walt Disney World president. And an interesting idea came to my head. It was like, well, wait a minute, with a new president actually coming in, can he actually have a say on what actually happens with the Rivers of America project? I think he can. In terms of fixing it, well, you'll just have to see what we actually mean by that. Very, very cool stuff, very, very interesting stuff, and we have so much to get to. I mean, it is absolutely wild. But we got Eric Stratton in the chat right there in Kumia. Thank you so much, John. Make it rain. MagicalyMJ. Rudio's in the house. Thank you so much for coming on in. We have, Tom F in there. Thank you so much for everybody joining us for what is going to be an amazing evening of theme park news indeed. But we've got to go ahead and start getting this up on screen right here because, wow, there is so much going on. Now, I wanted to go ahead and cover this one topic here to start out with because I've been seeing it in a couple of different like Google News feeds and so forth, my X feed, obviously, and I just look at these headlines and I go, they obviously don't know what they're talking about. And if there's one thing that the Vash Sky ParkCast can do, it's setting the record straight. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go ahead and see. This was reposted by Yahoo Travel, but this was originally posted by Men's Journal. Disneyland to replace Toy Story parking lot with shopping mall. Shopping mall. Monday, May 18, 2026. Now, it's kind of interesting that I see so many headlines actually saying this same thing. Either it's a shopping mall or strip mall or something like that. Even though Disney themselves, they really haven't said anything about any of what's actually going on in the Toy Story parking lot at the Disneyland Resort. If people aren't familiar with what that is, let's go ahead and put that on screen right now. You can see right here, this is Google Maps. Thank you for the notification, Google. Very much appreciate that. So in the top left of your screen right there, you can actually see Disneyland and Disney California Adventure in the background right there. Now, if you go, across the street, that being Harbor, and just down Catella, you can see in the bottom right of your vantage the Toy Story lot. This is why there are so many articles about this specific section of land because, well, it's a big plot of land. It's actually the largest plot that Disney has available to it. That's all connected, that is, in the Anaheim area. So a lot of people are thinking, hey, you know what? Are they doing a theme park out here? Are they doing, a new suite of hotels and so forth? I think there's been a lot of, talk about this section of land right here for a long time, actually. And that actually dates back to the 1990s/2000s when Disney originally purchased the Strawberry Fields that used to reside in this area right here and zoned it for theme park use. I believe the OC Register at the time, this was around the early 2000s, I do believe, had an article saying that Disney was intending to build a theme park here. Now, obviously, when DCA opened, all of that changed. But if we examine this lot, we can actually see that, yes, it's probably going to be a theme park, given that, well, the resort only has two. It's very supply constrained as it currently exists, that being that there's only so many annual pass holders or guests that can actually go to the existing parks as they currently exist. So it would make sense to build this infrastructure out by providing a third gate. Might not make sense to build a fifth gate in Walt Disney World, but a third gate here, I think, is very, very likely. So why is everybody saying that a shopping mall is going to be built in this area? Well, there was this confidential permit that we've talked about before, actually, that was filed, and Theme Park Wizard actually has this on his X account right here, and it has listed the Toy Story lot on this permit. And everybody said, hey, we don't actually know what's in this confidential permit, but Disney presented this concept art some years ago that suggested that they were going to build a shopping district. And it was like, that concept art, folks, was Disney's pitch for Disneyland Forward. And if you know anything about Disneyland Forward, you know that it was simply just a request to the city of Anaheim to provide Disney the rezoning necessary to develop the areas of land around Disneyland Resort the way they wanted. That was it. That's all Disneyland Forward ever was. And so when you see these projects like Tron or Toy Story or all these things that Disney attributed to this project, they were just suggesting, look, if we get the zoning we want, which was mixed use, right? This area had been previously zoned as theme park, but they wanted a mixed use permit so that they could develop potentially anything on this space, including resort hotels, shopping, whatever. If you give us the ability to do this, here's what we could do in return. That's all they were saying with that. In fact, and it's kind of hard to find old Disneyland Forward documents because obviously it was passed by the city. So why would a lot of these things take place? But if you look at the initial conceptual brochure that was provided for Disneyland Forward by Disney, you can actually see right here, they talk about the Toy Story lot in this section on this brochure. And they said a new kind of Disney entertainment destination could include theme park, hotel, retail, dining, and entertainment. And they said could a lot because these things were conceptual. And in this spot previously, like I was saying before, it was zoned for theme park. So if you were looking to get a mixed use permit, would you provide them conceptual renderings of a theme park? No! You would provide them conceptual renderings of what could be in this space. And that's what they did. They provided a look at a shopping mall or district or something. This was the concept art they actually showed. So people are connecting two and two together. These outlets like Men's Journal and some others that I won't name, but some people I have deep respect for, are putting the concept art that Disneyland used to pass a rezoning measure and are pairing it with a confidential permit, which is right here, that they don't know the inside of, and saying, that's what they're doing. And it's like, what kind of reporting is this, guys? What are you doing? This is a little bit irresponsible. And so Scott Gustin, he did some digging on this, and he's getting the same thing that New York Post got, which was apparently this is just repainting. And I think by repainting, or painting in general, I think it's just more lots to be able to be used, or more spaces for parking, so that the cast members who are parked here on the north of the property, which is where this new parking structure is actually going to be built, so that these cast members who are going to be displaced from there can now park here. I mean, where does this come from? Honestly, it's just mind-bending to me. I was like, wow, you're stretching some stuff. But if you have somebody who actually understands their history, understands what Disneyland Forward was all about, and has been, covering this as closely maybe as I have, well, then you know. And this is why in previous coverage on the various channels that I've ever been a part of, we really cover Disneyland Forward extremely closely, because obviously it's important to understand what Disneyland Forward was, what it means for the future of Disneyland Resort, and how it can actually trace people who might not know what's actually going on with the Disneyland Resort. Nicole Williams up here says, well, that's why we all listen to you. Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose. I try to earn my keep around here, but it's just one of those things where it's like, if you had a firm understanding of how this all worked, you know that this headline right here doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now, as soon as Disney actually comes out and says, hey, this is what this confidential permit's all about, and produces maybe concept art or says a statement saying, hey, this is actually what we're doing, then absolutely, go ahead. Print all the headlines that you want. But these headlines were constructed around these connecting dots that really have no interplay between each other. I mean, and the relationship between each other is probably tangential at best. So it was absolutely wild. I thought I'd bring that all forward to you because, well, a lot of misinfo out there, for sure. O2RR, though, never misinform anybody. 199, excited to celebrate Epic's 1 year anniversary. Absolutely. The 1 year is big times. It has been quite the year for Epic, obviously, both good and the bad. But they have received the accolades. They've received, a lot of stunning reviews for a lot of its attractions. Now, operationally, there's some issues there. No question about that. I do think they'll eventually overcome those issues. But it has been a stunning first-year effort there. I mean, compare the first year of Epic Universe to something like, I don't know, Islands of Adventure back in 1999. Yikes. Okay, that was a tough first year. That was rough. That was a bad showcase right there. But these new managers over there, Destinations and Experiences over there at Universal, Comcast, everybody, they really believe in this project, and they really put both feet forward right there, confident in what they were actually producing. And sure enough, when they built it, people came. Very cool. Awesome stuff indeed. We also have some more shenanigans actually going on here. And this one here is, my oh my, very interesting things happening when it comes to the unions out there at Disneyland, that is, and specifically the security union. Let's go ahead and put that on screen right now so I can show all of you this one by David Koenig. Disneyland security strike vote ends in controversy. This was published just a few days ago over there on Mice Chat. We recently filled you in on tense negotiations between Disney and its security officers, which looked like it could possibly end in a strike. Today we'll fill you in on what happened next. Yes, we didn't really cover this on Vash Sky ParkCast. I think we covered this, I believe, on That Park Place. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to this specific story right here because, well, there was a lot to break down. But essentially, in summary, Disney did come to the securities union for with a new contract, right? Because obviously they come up every 3 to 5 years, and they said, "Hey, look, listen, this is what we're going to give you." And the security union was like, "Yeah, let's go ahead and do that." But the memberships were like, the members of that union, so the people on the ground actually working these jobs and had to accept the terms of this contract, were going, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're going to do that." So they voted no. And it was a big deal because, well, if they don't come to an agreement on this new contract here, well, you could have potentially a strike take place, and unfortunately, the Disneyland Resort would be without security. So what do you do? It was kind of a big deal. I kind of wanted to wait though to see what actually happened, and I'm glad I did because wow, this is really interesting. Last week, a third attempt to avoid a strike by Disneyland security and to convince officers to approve a new contract succeeded, despite a majority of those who voted on the new contract rejecting it. Now, how is that possible? Let's go ahead and get into it. According to a technicality in the International Union bylaws, at least half of the members must vote on a proposal, or its fate would be decided upon by the leadership of the local union. The executive board, a local 1955, nice, which had negotiated the contract and had recommended it to be ratified, quote, however, recounted one officer, less than half of the 1,600 security officers voted, which sealed its fate. Many had just given up, something Disney was hoping for. Ah, I see. So the majority of union members have to vote on the new contract, or else it just goes to union leadership, which, well, is going to approve it. So isn't that convenient right there? As David Koenig points out, says this: that means in theory, the no votes could have outnumbered the yes votes by 799 to 0, and the contract still would have been approved. Although the exact numbers were not released, officers I contacted speculated the count was closer to 60% no, 40% yes. I see. So even if you have the majority of the Disney security union members vote no for a contract, if it doesn't reach a certain threshold, it just gets approved anyway. That's very convenient. Because the just ratified contract is nearly identical to a proposal that was soundedly voted down just 1 week earlier, some union members are in disbelief. Several officers immediately began pointing to conspiracy theories. Oh, conspiracy theories, you say? I wonder what those were. One guard said the union actually has closer to 1,500 members, if not fewer, but uses the 1,600 figure to make it more difficult for a vote to reach the 50% threshold. The union board will not tell the membership the exact number of the current members. That's weird. Why would they do such a thing? One can only speculate. Other officers said that they would not be surprised at union board shenanigans. As one member noted, keep in mind that the board, which wanted the contract ratified, oversaw the voting. There were no independent observers, although they did have 2 independent cast members help count the ballots. The paper votes were collected during the voting process and placed into an acrylic box. The box was secured by a cheap internal lock, of which the board had the key. Not sure whether the box was left unsecured in a hotel conference room or taken home each night by one of the board members. Well, that's weird. There were many attempts at getting the board to move the voting to a more secured method, however. They were unresponsive. This has added to the distrust of the current board. Local 1955 includes 4 legacy members who have been on the board for years, and 2 of them have been voted out in prior elections. But wait, how are they on? But were quickly reinstated to the board through appointments by the Vice President of Representation and the Treasurer. I see. So, you get voted out and you get right back in. That's a great system. Some cast members feel the new contract favors specific departments where most of these board members work. Indeed. As one critic pointed out, in the union provided recap, it states that the union will address issues with the K9 and PCO through MOUs. These memorandum of understandings were not spelled out in the contract proposal, and the board refuses to state what they will encompass. That's interesting. As well, many members feel as if the head of Local 1955 is in Disney's pocket. Oh, I'm shocked. Oh, what an outrageous allegation that's actually been made. My goodness gracious. Nothing to see here, people. Nothing to see here at all. The leader, said one officer, was handpicked by the International SPFPA, Security Police and Fire Professionals of America, and he is on the record as advocating for a soft approach when negotiating with the company. And he appears to be handpicked by the company as well. He's as non-responsive and does not seem to be in the best interest of the union and putting members first, except when it benefits him. I see. So, look, I've had my problems with Disney security. There's no question about that. I think not embracing new technologies that could be installed at the various security stations, I think that does leave guests more vulnerable than they otherwise should be. And the process in terms of efficiency and so forth is just not the best as it could possibly be, especially when compared to like Walt Disney World, for example, where you just kind of walk through. At Disneyland Resort, they still go through bags, every single bag manually. They have, metal detectors that you walk through, which is good. But then, as far as the thoroughness goes and everything like that, it's just not fantastic. And there are other issues, like, for example, we covered the Oblivion thing right here on Vash Sky ParkCast, and when we did that, it really underscored how kind of lacking in knowledge and some other things attributed to Disney security. It was quite stunning to see. Let's just say that. And so it's like, okay, maybe we need a reformation or a reimagining of this entire system, to use Disney terminology right there, right? Perhaps. But, well, no, with these unions in place, I don't think that's necessarily going to be possible. And so union members who, in some cases, when you actually go through the proposal that was actually proposed to them, in some cases, like frontline cast members and line cooks were getting paid more than security, which is kind of crazy given that, well, you need a pretty engaged and well-funded security team in order for you to have maybe better outcomes when it comes to security-related issues. At least one would think, anyway. When it comes to this union shenanigans stuff, well, it's been happening for a while. Interesting, because I did some research on this, because I remember a specific time when the cast members, actually, the frontline cast members working at Disneyland, rejected a proposal. This was back in late December of, late 2020. Wait, was it late 2020 or late 2020? No, it was late 2021, actually. So December of that year, November, December-ish. Back in that time, the Disneyland cast members rejected a proposal, but the Disney California Adventure cast members accepted it. Everybody was kind of shocked that happened because it was just very, very, very close. And then later on, the cast members who originally rejected that plan ended up accepting it. And everyone was like, well, that's kind of weird because nothing really changed. So why did that happen? When I was going over my research here, I remember reading this story at the time. And you tell me if this sounds similar to what maybe the security union members just went through. Disneyland's union workers, again, this is back in November, I think it was November 18th, 2021. Disneyland's union workers, represented by the Master Services Council, a collection of several Disneyland unions, voted on their contract yesterday in the Lincoln Theater at Disneyland. Early returns indicate that Disneyland's workers have overwhelmingly voted no to the new contract, while Disney California Adventure's union workers appear to have narrowly voted yes. However, there was some confusion among cast due to voting irregularities, including some cast being given ballots for the wrong park. That's crazy. Observers being kicked out from the counting process before the final tally was given, and ballots being rejected for marks in incorrect places or names being written on them. Interesting. This was a cast member right here at the time. This was a Facebook post by Tucker here. They decided to kick us out to have a private union rep meeting. They didn't tell us the final count. I was told it failed. They then kicked us out of the building. Danny here says, got kicked out without a final tally. UFCW, one of the unions right there, refused to give numbers. So no transparency, but I can tell you it was overwhelmingly failing. The contract that workers were voting on included a $3 wage increase over the next 3 years, as well as bonuses for long-term employees. The ballot itself included language intended to scare cast members into voting yes by making them think that a no vote would result in a strike. That's not necessarily what would happen in a situation like this. The union would instead poll its members on what they would accept and attempt to continue negotiations with Disney. However, you can see right there, they printed out ballots that, made it seem like, oh, we're going to strike if you don't actually pass this or whatever. When I look at the union leadership over there at Disney, or Disneyland anyway, there's some hanky stuff going on. I don't know what it is, but there's some hanky stuff going on. And legally, I think that's all I can say. Because, obviously, this is according to reports from Mice Chat, which, by the way, Dusty Sage, David Koenig, they've been doing a great job keeping up with these stories over the years. So, big shout out to them. Obviously, when you publish stories like that, you do take a hit when it comes to access provided by Disney, but they've been on it, and it's just to see these things happen over and over again, this time in 2021, and this most recent incident happening just a couple days ago, it does kind of make you wonder what those unions, particularly the union leadership, are all about. So I wanted to go ahead and bring that story to you because I thought it was very, very interesting. Not a lot has been said about it, especially since the vote has been, tallied and the contract proposal was approved. I wanted to go ahead and fill you in on just what exactly was happening over there at the Disneyland Resort. Now, there is one incident that, Disney's security team might want to go ahead and answer to. And so, having a good security team to address these issues in person might be, something of a benefit to Disney here. Here you go from Walt Disney World News today. Guests arrested at Disney's Contemporary Resort for battery of cast members over dining arrangements. This is by Arika Conrad, May 21st, 2026. Whoa. This is big times right here. A female guest was arrested at Disney's Contemporary Resort after being irate and physical with 2 cast members. Uh-oh. Deputies from the Orange County Sheriff's Office responded to reports of a disturbance inside Steakhouse 71 at Disney's Contemporary Resort on May 19, 2026. Later reports indicate that a female guest was arrested after the incident. The primary victim, a Disney deputy manager, told law enforcement that a 57-year-old woman named Leslie Helen Farley became, quote, irate over seating arrangements for her large party dining at Steakhouse 71. I'm going to go ahead and put this some B-roll on. That way you have something to look at in this whole thing right here, because it's just a wall of text from here on out. But Walt Disney World News today didn't have a lot of information regarding on the specifics of the dispute that originated this whole thing, but Inside the Magic actually did. So we'll go ahead and read a little bit of that. I think I've only cited them maybe one other time on one of these programs right here. So there you go, Inside the Magic. The primary victim, identified in the police report as Disney duty manager, told law enforcement officers that a 57-year-old woman named Leslie Helen Varley became irate over seating arrangements for her large party dining at Steakhouse 71. Table service dining locations located in Disney's Contemporary Resort. We get all that. Apparently, let me see here. I thought I had it here. She was, okay, so there was a large party there. They wanted to know whether or not they can actually put tables together. The cast members told Varley that they actually couldn't, and that's when she apparently became, very irate, indeed. Varley reportedly threw 3 cups filled with water and ice at the Disney deputy manager. I do believe these were glass cups, indeed, all of which hit the front of his body. Then she allegedly approached the cast member, forcefully removed his name tag from his suit jacket, and walked away. What? This is wild to me. Forcefully removed his name tag. Okay. He followed her toward the check-in desk, hoping to retrieve his name tag. Well, obviously. The second victim, listed in the report, another Disney manager, said she initially attempted to help other cast members in addressing Varley's seating concerns. After she told the group that she could not move the tables to sit together, Varley allegedly grabbed the Disney manager by both shoulders and forced her to move about 6 steps. The second victim also witnessed Varley throwing glasses filled with water and ice at the Disney duty manager. 4 glasses were broken during the incident at Steakhouse 71, which resulted in about $20 in property damage. What? Fortunately, both cast members declined medical treatment at the scene. Neither had visible injuries. However, they both invoked Marcy's Law for protection against Varley. I see. Varley claimed that she overheard cast members discussing her disabled daughter's interactions with them at Steakhouse 71. She admitted to throwing water at the Disney duty manager and grabbing the name tag, though she said that she needed to identify him to file a complaint. Okay, well, look, listen. All right. If you overhear a cast member talking negatively about, I don't know, a previous interaction that you may have had, or talking negatively about your disabled daughter or whatever, obviously just write down the name. You don't need the name tag. And then obviously put a complaint in with guest services. What are you doing? Picking up 3 glasses of water and throwing it at them? Unbelievable. Varley was arrested and charged with 2 counts of battery, robbery, and sudden snatching and criminal mischief under $200. She was also issued a trespass warning by Walt Disney World, barring her from the property. Of course. I mean, what is this? What are you doing? Snatching name tags and stuff? Guys, where are we? I mean, that is unbelievable. She's 57. What are you doing? I mean, look, I'm not saying cast members would actually, defend themselves, but obviously that is a possibility in this instance. There's absolutely no reason to go around throwing glasses and snatching name tags. It's crazy. Let's see. MJ, let's go ahead and get you on here for just a second right here. Go over some of the comments for our previous 3 stories here because I think they're very, very interesting. Are you there, MJ?
I'm here, and this story is wild. Why did it have to be at one of my favorite restaurants? No,
I know, Steakhouse 71 is awesome right there.
They have the best food.
They got the best food. Let's see. That's so, brother. Yeah, I do agree. Tom F here. Was she drinking?
That's a good question.
She didn't drink the water. We know that for a fact. She decided to throw it instead. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I suppose it's a possibility. But do you pregame before dinner right there? I don't know.
Go and Shogi. Be funny if he borrowed a friend's name tag that day. You know, our audience is awesome. We have some really serious comments, and then it could get really comical very quickly, which I love the diversity of our audience. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this place specifically, I'm just going to put some random stuff regarding the segment. But this restaurant specifically, most sit-down restaurants at the resorts do not let you put tables and chairs together. You just can't. They have to have a they have like a little I don't know if it's an iPad or something at the very front when you check in with the hostess. They have to purposely have a table with 2, a table for 3, a table for 4. That's all in the works. Like you cannot just, hey, it's a party of 8, we're going to make our own party of 8. It doesn't work like that. But
yeah. I mean, it's all contingent on what those customers are capable of doing and so forth, and obviously, it's okay to accept no for an answer.
Another comical comment from Going Shogi. That's a souvenir, I suppose. You could tell your grandkids, this name tag is why we can't go see Mickey Mouse. That's a good one.
It's not bad.
Oh, it's not the Olive Garden. No kidding, Barry. Oh my gosh.
It is not the Olive Garden.
In the 90s, we got away with it, right? It was like a group of people like after church, and it's like, let's just put the tables and chairs together.
Right.
But yeah, this is not Applebee's. This is not Olive Garden in the 90s.
Not at all.
Work like that.
Crazy.
Go and Shogi wants the recipe for Steakhouse 71 steak sauce. Oh, I don't know if we can help you with that tonight, but that's a good comment.
That's fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I've heard great reviews for Steakhouse 71, so hey, shout out to the customers there. Doing a great job, obviously, maintaining an atmosphere that somebody would want to bring a large group to. So there you go,
Very concerning because we're getting more and more stories about the guests going wild. There should be a channel, Guests Gone Wild at Disney, because it's just getting more and more trendy for people to just lose it. I don't know if it's for social media. I don't know what is happening. I don't know what's going on.
Well, next time you have a great channel idea, MJ, we got to talk about it privately. No, I'm joking. That's fantastic. It's a good idea, though. Disney Guests Gone Wild. It is absolutely crazy just how many incidents that we're actually seeing for a litany of different things and setting incidents. I think when people get down there, it's hot, obviously people are stressed out and some people react poorly to certain events. There's no question about that, but man, guys, you got to keep your cool. That is absolutely for sure. None of our audience would ever do.
Oh no,
I'm just saying, generally speaking.
Absolutely.
You're cool guests. What are you doing? You are a guest to a relationship, as we've talked about here before. Now, MJ, we have to skedaddle to our next story because I know you know the list. It is thick, and we got to get to all of it and more. Thank you, MJ. Very much appreciate you. All right, let's go ahead and get to our next story right here, and the big one that everybody has been waiting for, the Disney Experiences announcing senior leadership changes. That includes Joe Scott right there. Joe Scott's going to be the guy all the way to the left of the frame that you're actually seeing right now. He is now Walt Disney World's new president, which is a very significant role for him because obviously he's been working for the company for 40 years prior to his promotion to this position right here. This is a big, big, big deal. And a lot of people are like, you know what? How really substantial is this role anyway? And I can tell you this right now. It can certainly shape a lot of your vacation. There's no question about that. I remember talking to Jared about this last night. Jared, obviously, at Capture the Magic, certainly worth a subscribe. But I was talking to him and I was saying, look, the Oshi Register, I think, published an article, I think it was in the late 80s, early 1990s, talking about how Disney's maintenance department was world class, world renowned. I think they just got an award, actually, for one of the best maintenance departments that the world had ever seen up until that point. That was Disneyland, early 1990s, late 80s. Well, remember, Paul Pursler was made president, I believe, in 1994, if I'm not mistaken, right there. And within 5 to 7 years or so, the maintenance had degraded at the parks so quickly that not one but 2 fatalities could be attributed to poor maintenance and poor training. It didn't take that long. That's where it went within a 10-year span almost. And so the president position is absolutely significant when it comes to budgets and budget allocation, right? Whether entertainment actually stays or goes, what emphasis is actually placed, whether it's on guest services or, I don't know, bottom line revenue. All of those things are shaped very much so by that president position right there. And people might be asking, well, wait a minute, does he actually have a say in what actually happens when it comes to these big projects that are, in the works at Disney right now? Yeah. Does, absolutely, substantially. No question about that. Now, obviously, Thomas Moslem and Josh Tomorrow might have a little bit more say than Joe Scott by himself. But I've seen managers and executives, either approve something, disapprove something, change the way construction is actually, facilitated at their various resorts right there. Fight for more budgets in the midst of a developing project in the works. All of these things come down to various positions, and one of those being key among them is the president position. This is why I, made the thumbnail that I did, because obviously we're never going to get Rivers of America back, but can the thing that replaces Rivers of America be closer to being worth the trade than before? Yes, I think so. And I think there's reason to be optimistic when we're actually examining his history, which is very interesting. So Joe Scott, he started as a frontline cast member and Jungle Cruise skipper back in 1981. Wow, that's pretty cool. A lot of these managers that are in these various roles have never worked frontline cast member roles. Ever. So how do you craft a response to guest complaints? Or guest services in general, or understand what it actually takes to maintain an operation for the guests when you're not actually in those frontline positions? It's a little bit more difficult. But this guy, well, he's got the pedigree. Now, apparently he was a frontline cast member and Jungle Cruise skipper for, as many as 10 years, if not longer. And then in 1992, he moves up a notch. So I believe in that time he gets a bachelor's degree in business professional management from Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which is very, very interesting. And with that, he was able to move up to this kind of task force leadership position where he was part of the task force that saw the openings of not 1, not 2, but actually 3 parks. Very interesting. Started off in 1992 with the opening of Disneyland Paris over there in Europe. Apparently he was progressive operations leadership at Walt Disney World as well, providing him even more frontline experience and involved oversight of attractions, cast performance, and operational standards. Very interesting. He oversaw aspects of the Asian area of Animal Kingdom and managed attractions there post-opening. Very, very cool. He was also team leader for Disney's California Adventure grand opening at Disneyland Resort, obviously, served on the opening team for the new park in Anaheim. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're going through these parks and it's like, hey, those didn't actually open with great success. That's true, but not because of Joe Scott's decisions. Unfortunately, those were higher up on the food chain, like Michael Eisner, for example, right? He wasn't necessarily providing the most lavish budgets for a lot of those parks, like Animal Kingdom and Disney California Adventure, following, obviously, the money problems related to Euro Disneyland or Disneyland Paris, which was unfortunate. But he at least oversaw how these operations should respond to openings and so forth. And from what I understand, those openings, while they did have their share of problems, I think operationally, from an operations standpoint, were handled okay. But if that's all we had to work on, well, I know I wouldn't be necessarily optimistic. But later in his career is when things get really interesting. In 2004 and 2006, Director of Operations, Head of Operations at Walt Disney World Resort. So developing and implementing operating standards for attractions at the resort. So through those 2 years, he provided operational input for attractions at actually Hong Kong Disneyland to that park's opening in September 2005, while also being Director of Park Operations for Walt Disney World. So people who might think, hey, can we go back to a time that I was maybe more of a fan of Walt Disney World and what their attractions offered and so forth. Well, guess what? He actually worked in those divisions, not only as a frontline cast member, but was actually head of those operations back in the mid-2000s. From 2006 to 2009, he was the vice president and executive managing director at Walt Disney Attractions Japan. Apparently, he led support for Tokyo Disney Resort operations and growth, and Tokyo Disney Resort celebrated its 25th anniversary from April 15th, 2008 to April 14th, 2009, which he played a big role in. And the 25th anniversary, from what I understand, Tokyo and those Japanese tourists right there really, really enjoyed it. So that's good. 2009, he was the director of park operations or head of operations at Walt Disney World Resort again. And then right after that, starting in 2009, he was made chief operating officer of Disneyland Paris. Now, Disneyland Paris is a very difficult operation to run, obviously, because, well, it's been in the red for quite some time. But he got to see the openings of Toy Story Playland in August of 2010. He also was the head of the 20th anniversary celebration that actually occurred at that resort from 2012 to 2014, which is quite significant because you remember, Disneyland Paris got an amazing new fireworks package. They got water that accompanied their castle celebrations and so forth, and projections and all of that. All of that was installed for that 20th anniversary that Disneyland Paris celebrated, and they still benefit from a lot of those infrastructural improvements today. And again, Joe Scott played a role in that as well. Hermes Ratatouille Adventure also opened in 2014, which he oversaw. So pretty good when it comes to the portfolio so far. Again, if you need somebody to facilitate the construction of these expansions, right? Providing those construction umbilicuses, providing a way that, well, frankly, you can proceed with construction, but doesn't actually impact the guest experience. You want somebody with that with that experience, and obviously, I think Disney has found their man in Joe Scott. But that's not all. From 2014 through 2018, he was a senior vice president of experience planning and integration, Disney Parks and Resorts, quote, a high-level strategic and operational planning role focused on enhancing guest experience, integrating operations across resorts, and supporting company-wide initiatives. So, a little bit more of an overseeing role there for that specific division. And then in 2018, he was brought over to Shanghai Disney Resort. In 2019, he was made the president and general manager of Shanghai Disney Resort. And from then to 2025, he oversaw that park hit its first 100 million guest milestone within 10 years, which is significant, right? I mean, for a resort that young to achieve that 100 million guest mark is a big, big deal. He played a big part in that, and also oversaw the construction of Zootopia over there as well, which, that's Zootopia Land. I mean, Disney still talks about it and how it moved the needle so significantly. I think they said that most of the people actually visited Shanghai recently, visited Zootopia, they went with the purpose of seeing Zootopia specifically. So that was handled pretty well. When I look at somebody who is being incorporated into Walt Disney World, and I look at Jeff Vail, for example, and I'm like, that's not what we want. We want somebody better. We want somebody more customer focused. We want somebody that's more open to the criticism and can respond to guest challenges while also leading expansion. He's done all that and more. And if you're looking at guest services and so forth, well, in 2025, he was made the head of Disney Signature Experiences, where oversaw the opening of the Disney Destiny and the Disney Adventure. Now, Disney Adventure, that's not fantastic. There's no question about that. But he at least got a little bit more experience under his belt when it came to providing, well, what the name implies, a signature experience, that kind of white glove treatment, so to speak. And he took over for Thomas Moslem, who Thomas Moslem at that time was the head of Signature Experiences. He was brought over to Disneyland. Now, obviously, he's the chairman of the Experiences Division. So when you're looking at his body of work, when you're looking at his route from a frontline cast member to the president of Walt Disney World, I think we're in good shape. You know, I think George Kalogridis, who ran Walt Disney World for a time, I think he ran Disneyland as well. You know, he started out at bussing tables, I think, at the Contemporary. And when you have somebody who comes up the ranks to the company and starts out leading, you know, or being that frontline cast member, I think there's a certain operational experience that you get from that, and I think it benefited George Kalogridis. I think it's going to benefit Joe Scott there in a way that Walt Disney World fans aren't quite used to, and honestly, you guys deserve. I think there's reason to be optimistic with Joe Scott. Now, I could be entirely wrong. You know, maybe the degradation of the experiences we're seeing and the, trying to obviously maximize revenue and all of that, maybe that just continues on. But I don't think so. I think things are changing a little bit right there. Thomas Moslem did impress me when he had that media summit in February of this year, where he said, hey, we're putting more emphasis on guest experience. We're actually taking feedback. We are, changing the operation in order to satisfy more guests. I think a lot of that culture emanates from the top down. Obviously, you saw it in small scale with Thomas Moslem at Disneyland Resort. Now that he's chairman, though, I think he wants to put people in positions that are consistent with that philosophy. And so I'm hopeful for both Disneyland and Walt Disney World that they can be a little bit more guest-focused and be a little bit less quarter-to-quarter focused. But that's just me. I wanted to go ahead and give you some insight there because I have not seen anybody actually do a, year-to-year tracking of his specific resume. And I think the only way we can actually predict what happens in the future is if we look back to the past. So hopefully that was insightful for all of you. All right, I think that just about does it for that story. We have one more that we have to at least get to before we actually move on. I believe Marvin has his M4 Empire coming up right after us, so we want to go ahead and be respectful of that show and make sure that you do not miss a minute of it. Let's see if I can actually find this next story amongst my 105 tabs that I currently have open right here. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. This is the big one. Oh, and we have a super chat that has come in. O2RR with 499. Fun question for our panel. Which of these animal parks would you spend your day at? Animal Kingdom, your local zoo, SeaWorld, or Gatorland? That's a very interesting question right there. MJ, let's go ahead and get you on screen real fast in order to provide an answer for this specific question right here. What do you think? Where would you spend your time at?
This is a tough one because Animal Kingdom is amazing, but SeaWorld and Gatorland have a lot to offer.
They do.
Which of these parks? We haven't been to SeaWorld in quite some time. I honestly think we'll probably go. I'll go with SeaWorld on this one. What about you, Vash?
I think we're gonna have to go with Animal Kingdom. The reason
Okay.
why is because, look, I absolutely do love Kilimanjaro Safaris. I think it's a really really cool experience, unique to that park.
Mhm.
But I also like Expedition Everest and obviously Flight of Passage. I'm really passionate about those attractions, so it kind of has a great mix for me, myself personally. But O2RR, I do appreciate that question right there. I know it's a kind of a difficult one. And hey, there are some amazing local zoos, and SeaWorld's, got some amazing attractions and some amazing animal features and so forth. Gatorland, high marks for sure. But yeah, I think I'll have to stick with Animal Kingdom. If not that, maybe Gatorland, because I haven't been there yet. So I'm
And
really,
they
really
have,
curious to see.
according to our good friend Ron from Follow the Bradleys Fund, the
Mhm.
onion rings that they serve are amazing. So we have to give those a try. And Barry the Music Man had a question for you, Vash. I actually took the liberty of answering him already in the live chat.
Mhm. Oh,
So
thank you.
mhm.
Have I ever been to the overseas parks? I have not. I really, really want to leave the country and go to Disneyland Paris for sure, but definitely want to go to Tokyo. That is high up on the list right there,
Yeah.
because I think Disneyland Paris represents a very interesting time in the company's history. I think, is the magnum opus of the second generation of Imagineers right there. So I definitely want to see that.
Yeah.
But Tokyo, I mean, in terms of maintenance, cleanliness, and the variety of attractions and so forth, it's really hard to beat. So that's just me. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
MJ. Very much appreciate
You're
you.
welcome.
Let's go ahead and hit the story real quick before that M4 Empire. Here we go. Let's see right here. Let me just thank you very much. Very much appreciate you, Barry the Music Man. Disneyland faces $5 million lawsuit over facial recognition technology by Iman Palm here, May 19, 2026. A lawsuit filed in federal court accuses Disneyland of violating privacy, competition, and consumer protection laws by using facial recognition technology at the Anaheim Resort. Now, we have talked about this before, about this kind of this facial recognition technology being implemented at Disneyland currently. Apparently, when you actually go to scan your ticket media, your face is not only photographed and attached to that ticket media, but is actually stored in a database by which your face can be recognized upon subsequent revisits and reentries and so forth. $5 million though, this is a big deal. Now, I went ahead and I looked for the lawsuit itself because I can get a summary anywhere. I wanted to go ahead and get the actual paper. I was able to find it, which is fantastic. There you go. United States District Court, Southern District of New York. I don't know if I would have filed in the SDNY. It's just wouldn't have done that. Summer Christine Duffield, on behalf of herself and all others similarly situated, this is a class action lawsuit, the Walt Disney Company and Disney DTC LLC. So essentially, Duffield versus the Walt Disney Company. Let's go ahead and put on a little bit of visuals to give you an idea of what we're talking about while reading her complaint. I'm only going to read about 4 paragraphs of this or so, because obviously a lot of it is just set up for this. Let's see. Beginning as late as April 28, 2026, Disney began to implement facial recognition collection at entrances of the Disney theme parks, which are located in California. Unfortunately for visitors of Disney theme parks, including Plaintiff Duffield and class members, they have no idea whatsoever that their biometrics data, which are more permanent than a social security number and which cannot be changed or altered, were collected without adequate consent. In fact, Disney does not adequately disclose the use of their biometric collection, so consumers, which almost always include children, have no idea that Disney is collecting this highly sensitive data. This according to the complaint. Indeed, according to the LA Times, quote, most visitors opt into the technology over alternative entrances. Unaware of the policy, some expressed concern, especially parents worried about their child's privacy. I remember actually reading that specific LA Times article, actually, to all of you here on Vash Sky ParkCast. So it's interesting how this is being used in the complaint here. In paragraph 4, it says, guests should be able to expressly opt into this type of sensitive facial recognition technology with written consent. The onus of privacy rights should not be on the victim. given how sensitive facial recognition technology is, or data that is, explicit written consent should be required to protect the privacy rights at Disney theme parks like Plaintiff Duffield. Further, Disney's popularity compounds these issues because of how ubiquitous Disney theme parks are, as well as the experiences that are tailored around them. While Disney publicly states, quote, "The security, integrity, and confidentiality of your information are extremely important to us. No security measures are perfect or impenetrable," end quote. It appears visitors cannot discern which of these entrances into Disney theme parks actually are the ones that clearly avoid, quote, "opt out of facial recognition tech." Disturbingly, Disney states that it collects facial recognition from children so long as they have the consent of their parent. But children, who are the primary visitors at Disney theme parks, cannot consent to such a profound invasion of privacy, given they cannot consent to contract away their privacy rights. Interesting. Disney's sophistication as a corporation and Disney's organization cognizance, I believe, of facial recognition laws should be well known. In fact, Disney admits as such, as they claim not to collect biometric information from visitors for other Disney purposes, which are from Illinois, Portland, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, and Texas. Now, I looked at that source there that they actually cite in this lawsuit right there, and apparently that's that language that excludes those specific states right there is part of the terms and service for PhotoPass. Now you might be thinking, well, that's kind of weird. What would the connection be there? Well, PhotoPass has the ability, obviously, to put characters in and around you, or use what they call this lens type technology in order to alter that photo. But obviously, there's some recognition involved in doing that. And so, in order to, I guess, protect themselves, that's why they prohibit the use of that specific technology in those states. That's what's being referenced here. Notably, Illinois, Portland, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, and Texas are all states or jurisdictions which have strict biometric privacy laws, which is presumptively why Disney does not and will not offer certain services in those states. There you go. Disney even states that those who opt out of biometric information collection may still have their photographs taken, but photographs are always the basis for facial recognition data collection. Finally, Disney claims not to retain any biometric data after 30 days. However, as the LA Times reports, the images of visitors which are run through facial recognition technology are recompared with pictures taken when a customer first uses their ticket or annual pass, which would suggest this 30-day retention policy is a farce. Very interesting right there. Consumer privacy laws are codified to protect consumers from this type of behavior, including those of children, especially given how sensitive biometric information is. At bottom, this is especially true here, where parents did not anticipate, invite, or adequately consent to the presence of Disney collecting their unchangeable biometric information when attending Disney's theme parks, places which are allegedly the safest place to bring their children and families for expensive outings. And this issue is compounded by the fact that Disney does not disclose the collection of biometric information anywhere in their privacy policy, but rather within patchworks of random websites and pages which offer little clarity as to what Disney is actually doing with plaintiff and class members' biometric information and other privacy rights. And Disney's conduct has ignited a firestorm of privacy concerns in the media, and is entirely consistent with the type of behavior that violates guidance under Article 5 of the Federal Trade Commission FTC Act. As such, Disney invaded plaintiffs' and class members' privacy rights. And in number 9, they basically say, because of this, we're suing. Gotcha. I'll say this about this case right here. And I saw people say, well, you're on camera everywhere at Disney property. It's the same thing. It's like, no, it's simply not the same thing. Obviously, does Disney retain your image with those cameras? Sure, they do. But data collection, data storage, and detailing out a profile by which to actually keep on file, it's a little bit different than just camera information. Right? Now, camera information is usually only referred to in the process of a crime or so forth, or maybe, in fact, they're catching you on camera doing something to either their property or maybe theft or something like that. That's what that camera tech and those recordings are actually used for. But when you're actually going so far as to collect biometric information for the process, of establishing a profile and, storing it on your servers or wherever. Well, what actually happens with that biometric information? Is it that's your profile that's later, stored and sold? I mean, Disney's saying no, but then we kind of have to take their word for it, don't we? So it's there are some privacy concerns relating to this that have some people somewhat concerned about where this information is actually being stored, where it's headed, and what actually happens to it. Now, Disney's saying, hey, we delete this stuff after 30 days. Now, you saw the argument actually provided in that case, which is very interesting. But it is something where you kind of have to take Disney's word for actually just, eliminating that data after that certain period that they actually say. Do you trust them in doing that? I'm not sure. The other thing combined with this is children and children's information. It's very easy to say, hey, you know what? I don't care what anybody does with my stuff. But then what about your kid? See, this is why a lawsuit like this formulates. Now, I'm not saying this lawsuit's going to go anywhere necessarily. $5 million is a lot. And filing it in the Southern District of New York is a very interesting jurisdiction, I will say. I don't know if I would have necessarily done that. But I think there are enough arguments here that a judge, might have to weigh a little bit and see whether or not it actually moves on to trial. It's going to be very interesting to watch this case because, well, it's not just Disneyland doing this. Universal Studios Hollywood right now collects your fingerprint data, which is maybe different from your facial data, but still. And, well, we have an entire theme park resort in the form of Universal Orlando that currently is using facial recognition technology to not only let you, in terms of access to their parks, but also, too, it is what powers a lot of their technologies out there. So you really got to think about, man, how is this all going to work? How is this going to influence my next Disney vacation, if in fact this moves forward right here? What evidence might be brought out at trial that might make, that might make the news or might be public, that might be uncomfortable? It's really, really interesting stuff right here. We'll have to see where this trial actually goes. I'm very curious to see what a judge actually says about this, whether or not it gets thrown out in court. I think it's particularly interesting, and it's why I am providing you as much information about this case as possible by actually reading the complaint and shedding light on it, and whether or not you agree on it or whatever. Obviously, it's up to you, but I felt it was appropriate to read this out thoroughly so that you are better informed about what is actually going on in this case. There you go. I think we covered that one pretty good right here. Let's see if the M4 Empire is in progress right now. I just want to make sure. Sorry about that. I went away. I just want to make sure that everything's okay on Marvin's end here. It looks like... Oh, we're still waiting to go live. Oh, I see. Okay, so we have a little bit of time, I think. He is currently scheduled right now at 8 p.m. Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, there you go. We have a little bit of time on our hands right here, so we'll go ahead and use it to the best of our abilities. Let's see. All right. Let's see how we're looking right now. MJ, is there anybody that you want to go ahead and highlight before going on to our next story?
Yeah, I actually saw some really interesting comments in the live chat, but I believe you were reading some type of language, and you might need to double check on that because I think Sachi.
And so what we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the architecture. But what we love to talk about at WDI is shape language. And we often refer to shape language.
There's such iconic shape language in Spaceship Revetti Attraction. We really wanted to make sure that we fused to that throughout the space.
And there we have it with the language.
Yeah, that's true.
Our live chat has a lot to say about it. Here we go.
Yeah.
15-minute mechanic. I don't like Disney doing this, but we also give up a lot of similar information to fly. The only difference being we know when airports do it. Very true. Very true. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I
Especially with
mean,
that new system. I think it's called Clear. Maybe someone in the live chat that travels a lot can correct me on that. There's like an expedited system, if you will, that you can pay for. It's like a fast pass for the airport.
I mean, well, yeah. So, what's very interesting about that is that some airlines do collect the information. I think others don't. I think it's airline to airline, but I think a lot of that information being processed is by TSA, which is that's going to be the government. So a lot of people have a lot of flashbacks to like I don't know Minority Report when that actually happened. So that's
Speaking of the government, Follow the Bradley's Fund says, I don't care. Well, in other words, it doesn't bother him. The men in black have access to everything. There is no privacy. And I kind of understand where he's coming from on that. And I mean, Universal definitely knows your face. I agree. You have to scan your face to go to Universal. Yep. There was one more. Yeah, Nicole Williams. Facial recognition is the wave of the future. The train has left the station.
Indeed. I mean,
pretty much.
I personally agree with you, Nicole Williams. I think that train has left the station. That's absolutely for sure. And with so many getting into the facial recognition game, not just airports, but also to like stadiums and a lot of other events that people go to, is this kind of a dead issue? I mean, if in fact this case moves forward enough, you could actually see some pulling back in some of these things. But I mean, the likelihood of that actually happening is pretty low. So I do agree with you. I think it's a little bit too late for a lot of these things. But apparently Duffield over here does not believe so. She's going forward with her lawsuit. We'll have to see what actually happens in this particular case.
A lot of people would rather have convenience over anything. They just feel like this is a private property. I should be okay, know. And I really agree with this comment. Conveniently, though, you don't even need your passive. How many times do you go now to the store and you don't have your wallet or your purse? You just have your phone and you pay with your phone and you run back to the house, right? I mean, let's say the store is right around the corner. I'll be right back because most of our stuff is digital. It's on our Apple wallets, or I don't know for Android, but me personally, I mean, it's kind of convenient to just scan and go. I know that sounds weird, but maybe I got used to it because during COVID they pushed it so much. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's so it's very interesting the convenience argument, because I think there's a lot to be said about that. Obviously now we have facial unlock for our phones, right? Which, by the way, that's kind of a biometric system by which if your facial, I think they say facial print now, is being stored, something that can actually unlock your phone. How does that work? Convenience, I think, will win out in this case. I think you're exactly right there, MJ. I don't think there's anything, that even if people do have reservations about this, let's say, people will kind of opt for that. I think that's kind of where we're going as a society, and that's where I think obviously these companies understand the moment here and where that all lies. I think if you were to debut a system like this 20, 30 years ago, that might be different. But obviously, these companies obviously have so much information on you. It's kind of like, do you necessarily, the Pandora's box is kind of open, right? It's kind of like, can you necessarily go back? Well, I'm not sure if we can.
Yeah,
which, by the way,
I actually paid for this service for my two older daughters for when they travel, so that they just have they just get right through. Boom. It's not that expensive either, but they scan everybody. They scan your whole body, I think. You just walk through the thing and they probably know how many hairs are on your head, for heaven's sake. I'm just saying. Sorry.
Right?
Yeah,
No.
they use facial recognition and everything else under the sun for this at the airport, but
They
it's a
sure
very
do.
convenient service. You're not waiting. You board very quickly is all I'm saying. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad that they found information. That's cool. So yeah, it's a great segment. But we will
No.
time will only tell whether or not this bothers people enough not to go back to the theme parks. And I say people will continue going whether they get scanned or not. So
it's a very interesting topic, especially right now with so many of our amusement spaces actually switching to systems like this, that I think it's appropriate, obviously, for a theme park channel like ours to actually bring this up, because it's so profound, right? And so many people have so many opinions on it, so I understand it's certainly going to elicit a lot of opinion chatter in the chat. So no worries on that. Anybody who has an opinion on this, I am welcome to hear it, no matter what it is. 15-minute mechanic says, argument against it would be that the parks, by and large, know we are via other tech, know who we are. The parks have made it incredibly difficult to defraud the system, so something makes me wonder if it's not that. Could be. It could be. Very interesting stuff there, indeed.
Yeah.
15-minute mechanic, which, by the way, 15 minutes. Pretty fast.
Yeah. Very, very good fast. Yeah.
Now, we have limited time, so let's go ahead and move on to our next story if we
You got
can.
it.
Sorry, I saw the time there. So I was like, oh man, we actually went through pretty quickly. No, we've got more, and we got more time, which is fantastic. So,
All right.
MJ, I want to go ahead and have you on for this next segment right here, because I think you might appreciate this next one.
That's so funny. I almost took myself back.
There you go.
Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So apparently, Disney put on an opening celebration for the Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets, and the way they did this was, for the media, they put on a concert actually performed by the Electric Mayhem with Scooter, with Kermit, and a couple of other celebrities right here in order to open this whole thing up. So you can see what the display actually looked like before this thing actually kicked off.
I'm actually going
by
to
Drew Smith
turn
here.
on my camera because I do want everyone to see my reaction.
Okay.
I was freaking out last night when this came. I was like, I know you were busy. You were a working man, and I'm like blowing up your DM. Vash, the Muppets are live. Ah.
The Muppets are live. Now, this was a really, really cool thing right here. They had the whole Electric Mayhem out, and they performed a couple of songs. I believe all of them are tracks on the actual attraction itself, right? If I'm not mistaken, because they had Born to Be Wild. They had a couple of others.
Yeah, they performed. My understanding is they performed the songs that you get to hear on the ride, but I could be wrong. I could have read something wrong.
Yeah, this video, by the way, on Alicia Stella's own X account right there. We had Drew the Disney Dude referenced there earlier, so go and show you. Very much appreciate that shout out right there. Awesome stuff. Indeed, we love Drew. This was super, super cool. This was awesome. Here's my little complaint or caveat about all of this, because while this was very, very cool, it is one of those things where it's like, man, they limited to the media. They did not have this open to the public. And I don't know, MJ. I look at these events and I kind of go, man, these things are really, really cool. I had a lot of people actually formulate, their opinions via comments and messages and everything else. And they were saying, Disney, I would pay money to see this and this only.
Absolutely.
And I was like, whoa, I think Disney's kind of underestimating just how many people would be interested in this, and it's kind of surprising to me that you would do something that is so cool, but just for members of the media. I understand some of these
looking at this. Oh my god,
right?
But you're right. This should not have been limited to just a media event or influencers, or just look at them in there. I mean, it's so amazing. I mean,
it's so cool, right?
Yeah, they're getting their glory. I cried last night. I'm not gonna lie. I cried. I was just so happy. I was like, but you're absolutely right. This should have been something available to everyone, to every guest that wanted, and let them know ahead of time. People would fly down for that. I promise you they would. They would totally fly for that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think this is really, really cool. I think it's really, really cool that Disney actually does stuff. And hey, look, media is going to get access to all kinds of cool opportunities and cool things that are obviously hard to replicate, for the regular paying guest. But doing stuff like this, I think, would be really, really cool. Now, I know, some of these puppeteers are on loan from like Jim Henson and so forth, right? And obviously got Kermit there. And
I'm so glad you
maybe
said
Matt
that, because you
Vogel
just answered James Allday's question.
Yeah,
These are
no, those are
puppeteers.
Muppets. Those are being puppeted actively in order to provide this this experience, which is super, super cool. It is awesome. It's just like, man, something like this, I think it would have been cool to make it.
Animal, he's so cute. He's my favorite. I'm like, I have just not, every time I see this clip, I have nonstop chills. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just seeing them like this in all their glory. But I know we have a few of the OGs missing here. We have Piggy and Kermit, and I believe Gonzo. I mean, there's some OGs missing here, but this is nice for what it is. I mean,
Now, Kermit did make an appearance. Briefly.
okay, I didn't see that one. I missed it.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
That would be
this
cool
out.
if I could see
Can't
it.
play any of this audio because unfortunately there's like copyrighted songs like embedded in it, so it's kind of like I can't play it. By the way, you can go and see a lot of these clips. Alicia Stella has a lot of them. Drew the Disney Dude, obviously Main Street Mouse, as you can see right here. They have a lot of clips online, so I would encourage everybody to go actually over to those X accounts in order to hear these live, because they're absolutely fantastic. But there was let me see here if I can actually find where Kermit was, and maybe it was right here. Oh yeah, John Stamos was up there as well. So is John Stamos going to be there for the regular guests? Probably not, right? But
John Stamos. Oh yeah, he was there. Yeah, I saw that he was there. That's so cool. Look at him! Yay!
Can we at least get the Electric Mayhem performing? Wouldn't that be cool? And I saw some people actually, some influencers get the names of the characters wrong. Who actually attended. So it was I think it underscored the kind of like, to have actual fans in there, I think would have been really, really cool. To have people that would have been most excited to see something like this. I think it would have been cool to have them involved somehow. However, that could have possibly happened. Obviously, we've had Muppet appearances by at Walt Disney World, actually, and in other venues and other places. But let's see here. We have Kermit. I thought Kermit was in here somewhere. Sorry, I can't find it right now, guys. I do apologize. But I can assure you he was there along with Scooter and everybody else. But yeah, they put on a concert, and it was for media, and it created a great viral moment. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, nobody else could be a part of it, which was a little sad.
Do you think it's because John Stamos was making an appearance and they had like a special list of invitees? Do you think that could be the case? Because
it's probably part of it, right?
He said some of the elite cupcakers were shut out. So I'm
yeah, exactly, indeed. That is very, very possible right there. I didn't get all the coverage of this from everybody. I assume that their coverage was forthcoming, but maybe they were shut out, like you said, Ron. Very interesting. Where's Seth Rogen? Yeah.
That's a good one. He doesn't belong anywhere near a Muppet.
Yeah, let's not have that happen. No. Unfortunately, I think it already is.
Do you think they'll ever do this again, Vash? Do you think that it'll be like another event sometime in the near future?
If it was Bob Iger's era, I'd say probably not. But I think I remember listening to Jared from Capture the Magic. He was suggesting that maybe Justin Morrow was a fan of the Muppets himself personally. And so there is a chance maybe that we might get more Muppet stuff, especially if this Rock and Roller Coaster overlay is extremely successful. Obviously, these clips are going viral right now, so it is possible. It's just unfortunately unlikely.
Playing his guitar, I just cannot. Look at, oh my god!
I know.
I love it so much.
Left-handed, as we figured out. Very cool. It was great stuff, and it's great to see that the Muppets were on display for everybody to enjoy. We also too.
House. All right.
Hey, lady. Gamester in the house. Very cool. Thank you so much for coming on in. Not going to lie, T-Morrow has been on a roll as CEO, but we still have a long way to go. Indeed. Yeah.
I agree. 100%.
He had a couple of setbacks early on with some of the deals that Bob Iger, tied the company to. But so far, it's been going okay. It's been going all right.
It's only been a few months because he started, March 18th? So we got to give him time to undo what Bob has done, and only time will tell. So
only time will tell.
There's no turning around now.
Yes, I do have that actually.
I know you do.
It's time to be turning around. If only you could.
I was thinking of this.
Yeah.
There's no turning back now.
That one right there.
Oh, I love that so much.
We are in for this. Yes, indeed. Now, let's go ahead and put a pause on Electric Mayhem's amazing playing right here because, well, we have some other news to get to. There you go. From the Boardwalk Times, Disney has unveiled new concept art for the Mandalorian and Grogu mission for Smuggler's Run. One mission will take place above Crew Entertainment District on Coruscant, where your crew will fly down an Imperial officer while dodging TIE fighters. Indeed. Well, hunt down. Sorry. Now, MJ, we've gotten, brief snippets of what they're actually going to do here, but I suppose they invited media for this Disney Hollywood Studios event for the opening of Muppet, the Muppet Rock and Roller Coaster, right? Okay, so you open that. Well, while they were there, they also got to ride this new mission over there at Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. Also, too, a separate event that was happening almost at the same time was actually occurring at Disneyland as well. So we actually have reports from not only people that actually saw it in Walt Disney World, but also in Disneyland. So we know that the infrastructure is already in place. This is super interesting, MJ, because it does look like they've made some heavy modification to that engineer position. You can see right here, this is going to be what the engineers actually see, if not looking towards the viewport. So obviously, you get the cockpit view, and then you have this view, this video, by the way, from Alicia Stella, of not just Mando, but also, too, of Grogu. And MJ, I want to go ahead and know from you, because you actually have ridden this with youngins, right, in the pilot's chair, and I'm sure you had that engineer position yourself. Does the new engineer role of taking care of Baby Yoda, as you can see on screen right there, does that appeal to you more than it did before?
I think it's cute. And I think because the kids normally play the role of the engineer, I'm the pilot. I always sit in the front because I need more like space for my accommodation and situation. That's me, though. That's not everyone else. But I've never been in the engineer seat before. But I think that if they were to put the kids in the position of engineer, they would absolutely adore it, both female and male. I think it would appeal to them. That's just a good me, but again,
that's a good point. The parents can feel better about putting their kids in the engineer position and taking the pilots for themselves if in fact they got Baby Yoda on screen. That's a good point. Never even thought of that. Now, you can actually see right there that this is the point in which the engineer must make the decision on where to go next. So every single mission now starts from Tatooine, and then you are given the option of 3 planets later on in that mission, either to Bespin, Coruscant, or Endor. Bespin, obviously, with Cloud City, Endor with the remains of the Death Star. So that's pretty cool that the engineer is being given this role. Apparently, it goes back and forth, by the way. So, if you're on one mission, sometimes the left engineer will get it, sometimes the right engineer will get that opportunity to make that selection. So I thought that was very interesting as well. I thought it was going to be like a more of a vote thing, but nope. They're handing it to one person, one lucky person in the back right there. Now, also too, MJ, this was very interesting. Asa Kalama, Executive Creative and Interactive Experiences at Walt Disney Imagineering, said this on technology within the Mandalorian and Grogu Smuggler's Run update. Quote, "This latest mission we upgraded the core technology that powers the attraction from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. That's a pretty big upgrade to actually make for all of this. Along with all new compute hardware and graphics cards, the latest and greatest from NVIDIA that really allow us to push the limits of what we can do in terms of visual fidelity. MJ, I don't know if you've been keeping track of the hardware issues plaguing gamers and everybody else.
Actually, I did hear about that from, I believe she's a big time gamer. I forget, but I like watching her live streams. She's got the orange hair, very long, very straight hair. She's a gamer, and she was talking about all of these hardware issues. So I have heard about them, even though I'm not a heavy gamer myself. But
yeah, and the idea is that you have the influx of AI data centers, and obviously it's basically pulling in the world's resources in order to facilitate the construction of these data centers, which might or might not actually be happening. It's a whole complicated mess. Anyway, graphics cards have just gone up, skyrocketed in value. The same graphics card that I actually got for the PC that you actually see right here is now 2 to 3 times the price currently.
Wow!
So I bought this what is it, March X 5090 back in November for $2,000, and now it's like $4,400.
Holy cow!
It is a lot of money, and each one of these pods, because there's 7 pods on these 4 carousels, right? So I believe if you total it all up, it's like 30, because there's 2 pods that are stationary, and that's for disabled individuals, so they can go, they have free access to those, and obviously they don't have any limitations for loading and so forth. So I think there's 30, right? There's 30 pods, okay, on each coast, but we'll just go with Walt Disney World. 30 pods. Each one of those pods, from what I understand, is powered by 8 NVIDIA GPUs. And I think they're Quadro series cards. So just do the math on that. That is an unbelievable amount of investment by Disney to upgrade this specific ride. That is not that's a big deal. Okay, that's a lot of money. So the fact that they were able to upgrade that and actually upgrade to Unreal Engine 5, I think, is a big moment here. And from what I understand, a lot of people were actually making note of the upgraded visual fidelity and how good those graphics looked. More planets, better music. Yeah, a lot of the. So I can't actually play a lot of the, recordings of people's missions because they feature John Williams music throughout, which is good, but
that's
obviously
a great thing. Yeah,
right, because it didn't before, and it was very bizarre. I even heard like the Cantina song in there at parts. It was crazy.
What? They can't put it in they can't play it in Ogas, but they put it in the
do 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 do. Yeah, it was playing there. Smoother graphics, more interactivity, obviously, because of the choosing of the destinations and the Baby Yodas and everything else. More plans to choose from, obviously. Apparently, there's a hidden Grogu mode as well, so if you wanted to go ahead and silence the narration and just hear the coos and crying of Baby Yoda for your entire adventure, you can do that. More action scenes, and I was reading people's reports that in terms of responsiveness from the pilot's seat, far more responsive, far easier to pilot itself, which is good, because I think that it was like delayed before, and now it's back on, so that's good. And just looked better overall. Now, I think Dusty from Mice Chat was saying, hey, is this better than Star Tours? And he was pretty firm that Star Tours was still the superior attraction. So, for people who may have had reservations about this specific attraction before, maybe some of those people will be placated by some of these additions. But unfortunately, he didn't quite call it the home run that I think Disney was hoping for. But your mileage may vary. MJ, what do you think about all of this?
I think the overlay is cool. I forgot to ask you, how long is this for? Is it like a limited amount of time, and then they go back to what they had previously, or is it going to be to stay for like?
From what we have heard about this upgrade, it is here to stay. This is going to be the ride as as it plays out from here on. Now, there might be future updates, and maybe they could offer more variability by maybe allowing you to choose your mission before you actually step into the cockpit, which I have heard is maybe a possibility. But until then, this is it. And honestly, I think we may have gotten our fill of Corellia.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I'm not mad at it. The kids are going to enjoy it more than me, but I just wish that there's so much with this land, Galaxy's Edge and all of that they could have done. We talk about it so much on all the various channels, how they just didn't do right by the Star Wars fans, the diehard ones, and didn't stay true to the John Lucas, series. And, you were able to educate me on a lot of it. So was Lauren. And to see all this unfold and, you guys really paint a picture. And I'm like, darn it, why couldn't it just be the way it's supposed to be? No matter what they do with this overlay in the ride, it doesn't make up for the land itself. When you walk into the land for the first time ever and you're a diehard Star Wars fan, you're going to get let down. I remember a long time ago, a long time ago, when Star Cruiser first became a thing. That must have been 2012, 2013, something like that. 2011. Yeah.
Well, you mean the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, the cruise hotel adventure? Well, that made its way into our hearts and minds forever. I believe 2022, 2023.
Okay, I remember helping a friend get that hotel booked. I thought it was like 2012. I must be crazy. When I don't know, but I was helping him get his bookings, and he was going with his kids, and he was so excited. He's a doctor. He was a friend of the doctor that I was working for at the time, and he came back from his trip, and I was like, how did you like it? And he was like, it was okay. He was so disappointed because he is a die-hard Star Wars fan, and he was happy to pay all that money, but he was extremely disappointed and let down at the experience that he had. It wasn't what he expected at all. I didn't know better at the time. I'm like, oh yeah, you're going to have a great old time. It's the new Star Wars hotel. I'm going to help you get, make your reservation, and you guys are going to go build a lightsaber and all kinds. I mean, it was a letdown. And I think he spent over $10,000 or $15,000 on that trip, and he's a Florida resident. So yeah, that was pretty. I will always remember that. That's a shame.
It was, and I've seen reaction among Star Wars fans to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Maybe not necessarily to the Star Cruiser, because so few people were even able to embark on a voyage like that. Not just because of the cost, but also too because, well, there was only 100 rooms that were available on the voyage there. So but from the overwhelming feedback that I've heard about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and certainly my own experiences, it was a missed opportunity.
Total.
I mean, it just wasn't quite the realization of this Star Wars come to life that a lot of people had been told it was going to be, especially by Imagineers and so forth, and certainly not what Disney maybe intended ultimately. So
yeah. I'll always remember his story. He was so upset. He's like, there's characters in there I've never even seen. And I'm like, really? And I had no idea. I mean, remember, I just got enlightened this year. I just sat and watched with the family all the Star Wars movies. But before that, I didn't know any better. I was extremely ignorant to the whole ordeal of the Galactic Star Cruiser, and how it was a total letdown and not what the fans expected. And he's a respectable person. I mean, you're talking about a doctor. He had the money and the means to do it, and to come back disappointed from a trip like that with your family. I think it was a party of 6, him and his wife and all his kids, and what a letdown. It was a very bad letdown. I'll never forget that. So
big letdown. And honestly, there was a Blue Loop article that actually had the 8 biggest failures.
Oh yeah,
the 8 biggest failures in theme park history. number one, guys,
I
was
saw
the
that.
Galactic Star Cruiser. It was insane to see, because Disney wasn't anywhere represented in that list. There were some others. There were some parks all over the world, amusement parks all over the world.
Right.
Disney made number one with the Galactic Star Cruiser because it was just such a such a big letdown, honestly. And they spent close to $1 billion on just the research alone for that, because the idea was to bring that out into multiple different places around the world. Paris was supposed to get one. Disneyland Resort was supposed to get one. So that was a thing that was actually.
Thank God it didn't make its way overseas. Oh my God.
Right. So it's just, that was the proof of concept. Obviously, it didn't take off at all, and we still remember it today, which, by the way, that led me to looking at the company's history on big failures and so forth. And MJ, on Saturday, for all you members out there, a lot of you are new members now, thankfully, because of the amazing actions of Just Dutchie yesterday. We're going to be covering on Vash and Vixen on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. The failure that actually plagued Walt Disney himself. Yes, Disneyland obviously was a tremendous success, but maybe so successful that it actually overcame or subverted Walt's other idea that he implemented in Disneyland in '55, and unfortunately it went down as a one of the biggest failures that Disneyland had ever seen. And we're going to be covering that and more over there on Vash and Vixen this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be really, really fun. I cannot wait to get into it, because there's a lot of stuff here. Oh, yeah.
If you don't have that membership, get it now while you can. 2 more days left.
Absolutely. 2 more days left. Yeah. But there are things in there that a lot of people may have never seen before, so it's going to be really, really fun. Got a couple of stories here. Maybe Marvin might not, we will go ahead and transfer over to him in just a moment, but I just want to go ahead and quickly, real briefly, MJ, go over a couple of things here that I thought were really, really interesting that might obviously not be relevant with enough time passing here. Let's see if I can actually get these up on screen quickly. Sorry, guys. 150 tabs. Okay, here we go.
150.
Right here. The first billboard for Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift over there, Universal Studios Hollywood, is up, which is really, really cool. But what I wanted to show you guys was that they are finally testing with people on board. This is super, super cool. You can see that there are guests actually on this coaster. Now, unfortunately,
Charger.
that Charger, I've seen various test footage of this coaster. Now, on certain trains, that Charger works fine. Everything else works fine. But on this one in particular, they just cannot get it to spin the way that I think Intamin has intended right there. So it's like stuck in that position. Hopefully, they worked it out before official opening. But
I have a question for you.
Please.
If Universal reached out, would you volunteer as tribute as a test dummy for this ride before
Absolutely.
It opens?
No question.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. He would totally volunteer as tribute and get on this ride vehicle for you.
Yes. I'll figure out that Charger. You let me know. We'll figure it out together, Intamin. Let's go. But you can see right here. Now, on that footage that you actually see right there, again, all of this basically by Universal High on X. Check them out. You can see right there, works fine. It drifts in line with the other cars on the track. It's just that one train right there. Can't quite get that right. But it looks absolutely fantastic. Looks really, really good. These cars look excellent, and we know
they're pushing their limits, and that's the beauty of this whole thing.
Yes.
I know it's not doing the thing like they need it to, but these guys at Universal keep pushing the limits, and that's the beauty of Imagineering is what we're supposed to be seeing happening at Disney. That was the whole thing that Walt wanted, to think outside the box, push it to the limit. Universal keeps doing it. They did it with Monsters Unchained. And if you watch the documentary on how that ride was made, they came back like a whole bunch of times. The head honchos, the ones that were overseeing the little guys, they're like, no, it's not good enough. Make it, do it. We're gonna test it. We're gonna keep going until it's like astronomically amazing. And they're doing that with these cars. Who would have thought that they would get car ride vehicles to be able to do something like that? Amazing.
I think it's I think it's super cool. I think it's absolutely fantastic. This is a very, very cool element to bring forward to the coaster world, right? Obviously, Vekoma did it first with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind over there at Epcot with the kind of OmniCoaster technology, but they only took it so far. They only had the turning element, but they didn't have inversions, and they did have onboard audio, but they didn't do it outside. Obviously, this is outside with inversions, with the intimate experience right there.
My better half does not do coasters, but because he loves this franchise so much, he is going on this ride. I already showed it to him. I'm like, are you going to do this? He's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, why? Because it's the movie you love since you were a kid. He's like, yeah, pretty much. And I'm like, you're going to be sick when you get off of it. He's like, that's okay. He's fine to get sick. It's because it's the thrill of being on a ride coaster, about a movie that you've been watching since you were a kid. And if you think about it, when did the first movie come out? He was probably
2001.
Yeah, he was probably still in high school, for heaven's sake. So, some people grew up with this franchise, this film, and it's dear to their hearts. It's not dear to mine. I could care less about Fast and Furious, but
got it right.
You got it right. 2001.
I got it right. Yeah. Well,
I'm not going on this thing, but I will have a Vin Diesel shaped pretzel if they serve them nearby. That's no problem.
Well, there you go. I'm sure they'll have some eats there. I believe the restaurant location as well is shaping up in order to be opened very, very shortly. So that's very, very cool. Right over there at Universal Studios Hollywood. One more thing before I let you go over to the M4 Empire right there. We have this one right here. This is kind of interesting. I know, Bob Iger, he's yesterday's news. That's fine. That's where we like him, I think. But before he leaves, Puck News and Matt Bellany over there at that outlet had his total career compensation. See right here from Boardwalk Times, former Disney CEO Bob Iger's career total compensation is $1.05 billion. So for his time at Disney, making all the decisions that he made, he got $1 billion out of it. Wow, it is amazing. Just what you can do in the entertainment world and still get paid for it.
Exactly. Feed a whole small country and clothe them as well. My God. Yeah.
Absolutely. Puck also had this chart right here, which I thought was very, very interesting. Matt actually went back and actually totaled up all of the career competitions for pretty much all of the executives that have worked in the entertainment industry for the last 20 years or so. And you can see right there, David Zaslav comes out on top at $1.56 billion. Robert Iger, 1.05, as we just discussed. Leslie Moonves, very interesting. Obviously, he has been pretty much disgraced. $1.02 billion. You see Michael Eisner right there, $366 million as well. So a big jump up from one CEO to another, especially given that it's like, okay, where did Bob Iger take the company all that time? Doesn't necessarily reflect his performance in that time and his appropriate compensation. They also have this other chart right here at Puck News. You can see where studio executives are in relation to the industry and in inflation, but you can see those kind of bottom lines right there, those camera operators, DGA Weekly and all that, all the people, the rank and file amongst Hollywood, well, they're just about the same right there, or just slightly above inflation. The studio executives just way up, even though they're companies and corporations, and how the entertainment industry has evolved over the last few years, maybe might not, it might not be commensurate with how much they're getting paid. So I thought that was wild. I thought that was really interesting to bust out here. MJ, any final thoughts on that before moving on to the M4 Empire?
Well, absolutely. While you showed me those figures, the parks are playing in my head. How many times I
Yes.
walked by a garbage can that needed to be painted, chairs and tables that needed refurbishment, restrooms that are a little bit on the downside. Hey, Ticket and Transportation Center, the restrooms are in dire need of a refurb. Um, it's just unacceptable. All this
Yeah.
money to all these people, and the parks are in dire need of your basic maintenance. Basic maintenance. That little bench Walt is sitting on in Epcot is filthy. It needs a power wash with a little bit of bleach. I just don't understand how these people made all this money. And I mean, the compensation is outrageous.
It's
And
crazy.
we are, but there's nothing to show for it. Nothing to show
I guess.
for it.
Well, and you know, I mean, I know there's a range of consulting firms that a lot of these companies go to in order to work out how much pay should be allocated towards the CEO and so forth. And obviously, it's a big decision, right? And they'll say stuff like, "Well, it's like for talent retention, so we obviously don't want Bob Iger going to another company and leaving us high and dry. So we'll pay him commensurate to the market rate and where he might be able to find another job and all of that kind of stuff." I get all that, but like you said, MJ, it's like when you look at the state of the company, when you look at the state of these theme parks, when you look at the state of the entertainment division as a whole, right? I mean, entertainment like crumbled essentially before our eyes while Bob Iger was actually in place, which, by the way, a lot of these theme park attractions are now based on because, well, Bob Iger had a mandate, hey, if we actually do a new theme park expansion or addition or whatever, it has to be themed to one of our IPs. Okay. Well, now we don't have IPs to pull from. Right. Obviously, the maintenance and so forth that you actually
it's not coming from the films. It's not coming from Disney Plus. It's not coming from any of their films. The money, the bread and butter is the parks, and the parks are in dire need of maintenance and refurbishment and love. And your cast members need to be retrained. That's where the money needs to go to. Pay the cast members more money, and then maybe they would treat the guests better. And we can go on and on and on.
Well, and that's the thing, MJ. I think, even when Disney might want to pay those cast members, it's all those, union reps and so forth that, make that process a little bit more difficult, perhaps on purpose, maybe in Disney's benefit. I don't know. I'm not making any allegations that might get me into legal trouble. 15-minute mechanic, though. What was Bob supposed to do, MJ? It became hot in Florida, remember? Yes, indeed. I need that clip there. I just found it, and I got to put it in the repository. I don't have it yet there. But you know what? Michael Eisner, who got paid a third of what Bob Iger did, he had some thoughts that I thought were very interesting.
I'm not wild about the fact that it is so expensive now to go to Disneyland or Walt Disney World. I'm not wild about the fact that it's harder than ever to have everybody be a VIP at a Disney park because they're selling certain things. The things that I would do differently.
Indeed. There are those different things. I'm all ears to hear.
Right.
MJ, thank you so much for joining me for the last portion of our show right here. You do some tremendous work as producer extraordinaire for this program right here. If anybody wants to go ahead and follow Miss MagicalyMJ, they can actually do that on the various social medias that she actually has available on her X or Instagram, but also, too, I do believe you have a YouTube channel as well, which, by the way, all of her links can be found in the description of this video and every single video afterwards. MJ, thank you so much for coming on and being such a big part of the show.
Thank
and
you.
obviously,
Thank you for having me. That was very awesome. Very cool. Very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool to be here.
Absolutely. And so much of a big part of the hitting 5,000 and soon to be 6,000. So just want to go ahead and provide you the accolades you very well deserve. All right, I think that just about does it here for our program. We got to get over to the M4 Empire like right now because we're way over time. And I told Marvin, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and do that for you. But hopefully he still appreciates that even though we have gone over a little bit, maybe both our shows are perhaps better for it right there. Okay, let's go ahead and get to it right there. On Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, for those members out there, again, we have so many members. Thank you so much. we're going to be covering, like we were saying before, the big failure that happened at Walt at Walt's Disneyland there in 1955. Really, really cool stuff. I think a lot of people don't know about that story, so we'll cover it in depth there on the Vash and Vixen show. Wednesday, we come back, 2 p.m. Eastern, as we do after That Park Place. And I think I enjoy this 6:30 time slot that we have today.
I love it.
We'll be continuing that.
I think it's great.
Yes. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. But for us here, the Vash Sky ParkCast, MJ, myself, remember, the sky is the limit.